Hi everyone and welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to be drawing on my sketchbook cover, but I wanted to try something a bit different than just drawing directly on the sketchbook. Recently I tried drawing with Posca pens and Copic markers, combining them in one drawing, and it was so fun and it was awesome to see the contrast between the two supplies. So I wanted to see if I could try something similar for the cover of my sketchbook. I liked the idea of making this a bit of a craft project. I love drawing on toned tan paper, and for this I wanted to use some Strathmore toned tan mixed media paper. It's nice and strong, about 300 GSM, and my idea was to draw on this paper and then wrap it around my sketchbook covers. Having a mid-tone background can be great to work with. I find it so fun, and I was also excited to use Posca pens on it for the first time, to see what that would look like. I recently bought a set of pastel tone Posca pens and was really impressed with the colour options. It helped me so much with my last drawing. So I picked up an extra fine set of the same colours. Before this I had extra fine black, grey and white pens that I could add outlines and fine details with. But picking up this new set of Poscas meant that I could potentially add those smaller details and outlines with colours if I wanted to, which I was really looking forward to trying, and it was nice to have the option of adding finer outlines with colours like this. To help me come up with a drawing idea for the cover, I decided to start sketching in the sketchbook, and I knew I wanted to draw a Leshen, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later on when I'm working on the full drawing. It's a really interesting fantasy creature that I think you'll find interesting too. Well, I hope you do. So I started sketching deer skulls, a front view and a couple of angled views, and this helped me to practice the anatomy and get a clearer idea of the type of drawing I wanted to work on. And I also doodled with Posca pens and Copic markers because after recent projects that I've worked on, I knew I wanted to combine these two art supplies again. And after sketching and practicing on this page in the sketchbook, I then also started practicing with these supplies on a scrap piece of toned tan paper. It felt like it would be a good idea to test these Poscas on this paper before I got fully invested in the idea of this drawing, just in case it didn't work. Luckily the Poscas worked amazingly on the paper, even better than I'd hoped. They stood out so well. Before I could start any work on the sketchbook covers, I needed to actually make them. So as you can see, I got a couple of pieces of the toned tan paper and drew the shapes that I needed to cut, and then I carefully cut them out. This is the first time I've tried a project like this for a video, and so it took me a little while to plan. I just needed to make sure I got the right shape to wrap around the covers of the sketchbook. After all of the testing I did that helped me get a clearer idea of the drawing I wanted to work on, I started sketching my idea for the final drawing, and I wanted to work on a front view because I liked the idea of there being symmetry on the front cover, with the antlers stretching outwards. And eventually I started working on the front cover itself, laying down all the outlines. And to complete the layout of the drawing, along with the Leshen, I also added some feathers, some smoke, and a moon in the background, adding a few different layers, hoping to make the Leshen stand out. And now it was finally time to start colouring the drawing, taking what I learnt during the testing with Copics and Poscas. So I'll talk about why I chose to work on this, and what a Leshen actually is. So a Leshen is a creature you encounter in the video game The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And it was so scary the first time I encountered it in the game, and I think the game portrays them in such a great way. Such an ominous creature, the ancient Leshen of the forest. To me it was definitely one of the most interesting creatures, so drawing this combined my love for video games and fantasy creatures. The Leshen is actually a depiction of a creature in Slavic folklore, known as a Leshy, spelt Leszy. And in the folklore, it says that it's a forest-dwelling and highly intelligent monster. Some believe that it protects the forest, while others see it as just an extremely dangerous monster that hunts creatures and people, and has the ability to morph itself to appear harmless. It could appear as an elderly person, or even a tree branch. And that's what's written about the Leshy in Slavic folklore. Leshens in The Witcher 3 are depicted as ancient forest spirits. They possess a deer skull, and their limbs look like they're crafted from tree branches. They can call for aid from crows or a pack of wolves, and that's why I've added feathers to my drawing. In the game you knew that a Leshen was nearby when you saw crows flying. Part of the official description on the Witcher wiki says, "Humans have long been fascinated by the wild wood. Living in its vicinity was the source of tales about creatures ferocious and benign, friendly and hostile. As they started to settle deeper and deeper into the forests, respect for the unknown diminished. Lumber was gathered, stone abodes were built. As the pestilence that was humanity grew bigger, so did the forests and its inhabitants' wrath. At the heart of the forest lies a secret. In a place born of darkness and primeval nature resides a mighty and terrifying guardian. Immune to human steel, it is believed the Leshen is nature's way of protecting the forest and the animals that live within it from the threat humans started to pose upon their ravaging expansion deeper into the lands. Along with the animals it commands, the Leshen became a force to be reckoned with. Sometimes worshipped, this creature can heal other woodland animals and summon creatures to protect the forest. Its attacks are slow, but deadly. Be cautious not to get shackled by its underground roots. So it's basically saying that in the Witcher universe, as the people started moving in closer to a forest, chopping down the trees and disrespecting the land and going hunting and that kind of thing, they upset the Leshen, the guardian of the forest. That's the way it's depicted in the game, and I just find it really interesting and wanted to share this with you. The Witcher 3 is definitely one of my favourite games of all time, and I also love drawing fantasy creatures, so I've been really excited about this project, and I liked the idea of adding this to the cover of my sketchbook. On the back cover, I decided I wanted to have a similar layout without the lesson. So instead of this scary creature, it's just a colourful selection of plants, making use of the new extra fine pastel Poscas for some of the smaller details. And they helped a lot throughout this project. I'm having so much fun learning to use Posca pens and finding new ways to apply them to my drawings, and I love how they look on the toned tan paper as well. They stand out amazingly. Combining them alongside the Copics has been so awesome because I feel like I'm learning a lot of new ways to approach a drawing by continuing to get out of my art comfort zone. Once both of the drawings were completed, it was time for me to attach them to the sketchbook, and I was really excited to see how this would look. I added a bit of paper between the drawing and the sketchbook because part of the sketchbook was a bit uneven, so adding this paper made sure the surface was completely flat before I placed the drawings. Then I attached the drawings with a bit of glue and some strong tape. And there we go, here's the completed project. I like how the front and the back cover kind of contrast each other. So on the front you have the ominous lesson, and then on the back it's calm and peaceful. It's almost like seeing the lesson out of the corner of your eye and then turning around and seeing a peaceful scene with trees and blossom. Also, I might look into adding some protective varnish or something. I'm not sure. I don't know if I should because I don't want to add anything that would affect the drawing and maybe dull the colours in some way. So I'll look into it and see if there's anything I could add. But I'm so pleased with how this project turned out. It was so fun to try something different like this, and I really hope you enjoyed watching. Be sure to let me know what you think of this in the comments below, and also let me know if you have any suggestions for future art projects I should try, any art challenges or tutorials, or if you want to see me draw any more fantasy creatures, anything like that. Any suggestions at all really help me out. If you want to see more videos like this, then feel free to subscribe to this channel, and any likes or shares on this video are hugely appreciated. If you want to follow and support my art progress, then be sure to check out the links in the description for my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Patreon. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. I hope you're all doing okay, and I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you all soon.